Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Leslie, and today I'm going to be doing my very first movie review. This one is going to be on a recent film. You may have heard of it, or rather seen trailers of it on TV. It's called The Meg. It has already been getting rave reviews. Now, I did see it for the second time, and doing so actually gave me the chance to analyze it. As the first time I saw it, there was a little girl sitting next to me, and there were times she asked questions that were a little distracting, but here goes. My review of The Meg. So, the movie starts off with Jason Statham's character, Jonas Taylor, and a few friends who are in a submarine in the Philippine Trench, several thousand meters below water. At one point, you see him have to make a really tough decision when he has to choose to leave his two friends behind and save the 11 men that he and a man named Heller were able to save, and that's what he ended up doing. And you actually see that moment in his face. Truth be told, it probably took about 5 seconds. It's easy for anyone to say, I would have done this, or I would have thought this, but they literally had no time. Right away, you kind of get the sense that Jonas is a responsible guy. He's a good friend having to make that decision, and that was a real Blake Snyder save the cat moment for me. I'll explain that later. About 5 years later, a billionaire, last name is Morris, played by Rainn Wilson, comes to visit the research facility called Mana One. You've probably seen Rainn Wilson in the movie Super and The Rocker, which I have seen for myself. It was pretty funny. And he comes to celebrate with the Mana One group by watching one of their, say, $20 or $30 million subs descend past a place in the Mariana Trench that was originally thought to have been just the bottom of it. But their thinking is that it's some kind of, I guess, smoke screen. And 3 people are in that small sub, one of whom is Lori, wife of Mac and ex-wife of Jonas. Anyway, after they descend past this supposed bottom, they discover a sort of new ecosystem. One that has been unaffected by any of the pollution over the last, I don't know how long. And after sending out a small rover, the trio becomes stranded because something has attacked their ship. And this is being watched live on the monitors back at the Mana One research facility. After this happens, Dr. Zhang and Mac, they decide that Jonas is their only hope, because apparently he's one of the few people who have actually attempted a rescue at that depth. When you see him again, you get the sense, yeah, he's just been dragging his feet the last 5 years, which you can hardly blame him because he did leave behind 2 friends to save 11 other people. Anyway, they convince him to come back to the base, and by then, Suyin, Dr. Zhang's daughter, has already taken a glider to go down into the water because an employee named DJ has informed her that there was some sort of response from the sub. I think down there they had managed to get the lights back on or something like that, but then they had to turn them back off because whatever had attacked them had obviously been attracted to the light. Before actually taking the dive, Jonas meets Suyin's little girl, Mei Yin, and she is really, really cute. She kind of reminds me of the boy from Real Steel. You know, she has this kind of adultish air to her, but she's also still a kid at the same time, and she just instantly makes you like her. Especially when you realize that she's a smart little kid and she knows what she's doing. Anyway, down past the point that Origin had gone past, Suyin is attacked by a giant squid. And it turns out she is saved by the Meg, a megalodon, the largest shark that ever lived. And that's one thing you gotta like about this movie, is that it's kind of like Avatar in some places mixed with Jaws, of course. You know, you can't help but make that comparison because the movie is about a shark. But it's really cool that they mixed realism and science with fantasy and comedy at a lot of points, because there are some points of comedy in this movie that do not seem forced at all or incredibly predictable, which is really refreshing. When Suyin has to go back up past the cloud, Jonas is the one whose sub attaches to Origin, and he's able to get Laura and the big guy that they call the Wall out, but the third person, Toshi, he realizes that the Meg is coming back to attack the Origins, so he closes the hatch above him and prevents the death of the other 3. Kind of like Serge did in the movie The Core, if anyone ever saw that. As the others are ascending toward the cloud, Toshi sets off a bunch of lights on Origin, and the Meg is reattracted to it, attacks it head on, and then it explodes. After everyone has gotten back safely to the base, and Lori, who was injured because of a tool, is in the hospital wing, you see Mei Yin playing with this really cool electrical light-up ball that I really, really want. She has these awesome shoes on too, but anyway. She has her own little encounter with the Meg, and this is at the Mana 1 facility, meaning that it came through the cloud. After showing a little bit of research on the Megalodon and learning how it has been extinct for about 2 million years, the group decides to head out after they see that some boats have been attacked. 8 of them head out toward the point where the distress calls have been coming from, and they see the remnants of a boat and a bunch of sharks that had their dorsal fins and fins just clean torn off, meaning that the people who were on those boats were poachers. Now, after an awesome Jaws underwater cage throwback, as well as Jonas getting Lou Diamond Philipped, spoiler, the group finally manages to kill the Meg with the help of 2 very strong wires, and then haul it aboard. Now, you'd think that that would be the end, right? I mean, hey, this thing was causing trouble, they finally killed it, the end, right?
Wrong.
And just when you think the movie might be over, they Lake Placid us!
There's 2, I think there's 2! There's 2!
See that?
You alright? He bit me! You okay? He bit me, there's 2! There's 2!
It is Jaws 3 all over again. Yes, there is another Meg. Now this one nearly sinks the boat, and then chases their survivors for a few miles, only taking off after being shot at from a helicopter which Morris called in, which also placed a tracker on its top dorsal fin. Now on the way back, Zuyan's dad, who fell off the boat, he succumbs to his injuries and passes away. Now this was actually a real tear-jerking scene. I'm not gonna lie, I actually did tear up quite a bit because Dr. Zhang was telling Suyin how proud he was of her, how she was his dream, and how his wish was for Mei Yin to turn out like Suyin. It was really touching. This is the kind of relationship that when you see it in a movie, you actually care about what's happening to these people, and you just find yourself rooting for them. And you actually kind of feel the pain of whoever's being left behind when the other person dies or is in danger. Add to that the fact that Lee's performance, combined with the music that was happening at the same time, just really solidified the fact that this movie is different because it actually makes you feel something, the way movies are supposed to. And it's very different from the usual blood, guts, screaming, and B-rated crappy movies about sharks that you usually see. Sharknado does not count. Coming back to the story, back at Mana 1, Morris is later seen consoling everyone, saying that instead of being there to celebrate with them, he is mourning with them. He says that he has notified several countries, including Indonesia, Shanghai, and a few other places, as well as Australia, about the Meg, and said that China has sent 2 nukes to blow it up, and that he was shutting down Mana 1. And we get the sense that he really is kind of a good billionaire. Until he gets on the helicopter and you learn that he has had some large lunchbox-size explosives rigged that are set to be thrown out of a helicopter and onto the Meg, which actually does happen a few minutes later. And we of course realize that he had lied to everyone at Mana 1 because he wanted to make the problem go away like that. He and his little crew get close to the carcass. Once he realizes it is actually a whale, Morris tells his team to floor it, which they do, but not before Morris finds himself overboard. You can't help but make that comparison to the scene. I know I did. He partially climbs onto the whale carcass and is subsequently eaten by the second Meg in one big chomp. So the next day, the team realizes that Morris has lied to them about notifying the different governments and countries, And they see that the shark, which still has the tracker on it from the previous day, is heading for Sonya Bay, which is a very, very heavily populated area with lots of people. They come up with a plan and head out, where we see all the different people who have no idea that a giant prehistoric shark is swimming right for them. There is yet another Jaws throwback when at one point you see a boy with, a float and a hat on walk over to his mom, who is on her cell phone. He says, "I want to go in the water, I want to go in the water," several times, and then she finally lets him. A bunch of music plays. It also cuts back and forth between the beach, the people, and the team preparing to lure the shark away with whale sounds, attaching it to some device and then dropping that into the water. Coming back toward the beach area, there is actually a boat nearby with a wedding taking place on it, and a couple getting their picture taken. A few of the wedding guests jump into the water, along with this adorable little dog. And as if the Jaws 1 throwbacks had not already been tallied up enough, the dog is named Pippin, which is the same name as the black dog that got eaten in the first Jaws movie.
Pippin! Come on, Pippin! Pippin!
The bride is yelling for the dog to come back, and that's about the time that shark shows up. The people start freaking out and swimming back toward the boat. At one point, the Meg is actually swimming underneath all of the people on their tubes and everything. And I actually began to wonder, why is it not attacking any of them? I mean, plenty of them are making noise. Lots are jumping into the water. Or maybe this is a realistic thing. This is a large predator. It needs something large to snack on, not just something small. But again, there were several somethings all around it. But anyway, it starts dragging some, I guess you could call them buoy docks. After 2 or 3 of them collide, one person sees the shark and starts yelling "shark," and then everybody starts to panic and swim for the shore or swim for the buoys. And the shark is still not really attacking anybody until it does. There are a few more scenes showing the Man of One group still getting the preparations ready. And then you see the little boy from a few minutes ago actually among a group that is left by everyone else. And the shark, the Meg, is heading right for them when the thing with the whale sounds attached to it is finally dropped into the water, and it finally turns away from them. Back at the evac boat, which was, commandeered by the Man of One group, you see underneath the water not only the device that is making the whale sounds, but also Jonas on one side and Soo-Yin in another, both of them in gliders, like the one she was in the beginning of the movie. The Meg comes over toward them, it bites the device, and then starts chasing either one of them. They take turns getting its attention, and around that time, 2 news helicopters, which had obviously, been in the area, they decide to fly around over the evac boat, just filming what's going on down there, and the 2 of them collide. One crashes into the water. The other, of course, crashes onto the evac boat, and everybody jumps into the water. Thankfully, the Meg is nowhere nearby, but Soo-Yin goes back toward the surface, and she acts as the floating device. Meanwhile, under the water, Jonas is being chased constantly by the Meg, and he's still trying to just keep out of its mouth, even though part of his glider is damaged due to a run-in with the boat's large propeller. The missile that is on one side of his glider will not fire, kind of reminding you of the end of the movie Independence Day. And then Jonas makes a decision to charge at the Meg and keep going until one or both of them is dead. He actually uses part of the damaged glider to slice into its stomach and just make it bleed all over the place. It actually gets the glider's globe into its mouth and starts to crack it. Thankfully, Jonas has a rebreather. He gets out, actually stabs the Meg in the eye, I think with some large device. I don't think it was poison or anything. But it begins to let go of the glider. It jumps way out of the water. Jonas finally pushes the large cane/spear into the Meg's eye, and it is dead. Now, it did not explode, not like Bruce. Jonas just kind of floats nearby as he's looking at this, and then the body begins to move. And you look around and realize that dozens of different kinds of sharks, great whites, hammerheads, and all sorts are just going and attacking and biting the Meg's corpse. So it's kind of like Mother Nature correcting herself, or I guess you could call it cannibalism. While that's happening, one of the sharks actually starts to head toward Jonas, but he is subsequently saved by Soo-Yin, who Ubers by and takes him over to the wedding boat where everybody else is. And as Jonas is being taken away, we see the Meg's corpse just slowly sink into the water, much like the shark's body did in the first Jaws movie. It's like just blood everywhere, sharks, and it was a really, really interesting scene. No explosions, but that was fine. Now on the boat, everybody has a toast to their friends. Jonas actually says to Mei Yin that he could use a vacation. She suggests that they ask her mom. The dog survived. The dog is okay. It swims back up toward the back of the wedding boat, and the bride picks it up, and she's kissing and goes, "Oh, Pippin, I love you so much." Anyway, as the boat sails away, the camera zooms into the water, and you get the feeling, oh, there could still be something down there. But no, just the word fin, which is very clever. And then the movie's over. I think part of the reason why this movie was so great, like I said before, it's not just because of, mixing science with fiction. And I guess there's that air of possibility that a Meg really could still exist if there was that opening in the Marianas Trench. Another thing that was great was, of course, the acting. Between most of the characters, you actually get the feeling that some of them used to be friends, and others had strained relationships, like Heller and Jonas. Another thing that works is the comedy. It never feels forced, it just feels natural. Unlike the DC movies, where sometimes you can tell something funny is forced, and it's just not great. It's also a great film, fantastic production. The music was also excellent. Again, the Jaws comparison, it kind of added that sense that something's about to happen, and it would rise and fall with the action, even if you weren't paying attention to it. It really did help fuel and intensify whatever was happening. And there was also the growing relationship between Su-Yin and Jonas. As you can tell that she likes him, as Mei Yin even said so at one point. All of the equipment, all of the settings, all of it just looked realistic, like something that could actually exist. And there you go, that's my review of The Meg. It was a great movie. I give it A+ all around. I hope they make another one, or even 2 or 3. Just don't Sharknado it up. Yeah, go see The Meg for yourself in theaters right now. There were a lot of things that I left out of my review for the sake of your viewing experience, and I hope you go see it. If you enjoyed my review, please be sure to comment, like, and/or subscribe. Follow me on all my social media links. I'm Leslie, and I'll see you guys in the next video.